Hey everybody, Ryan Medora here, and welcome back to another bass lesson. And today we're going to talk a little bit about country bass playing and the way to approach the song Jolene, the Dolly Parton classic that has been having a resurgence lately thanks to Beyonce. But we're going to talk a little bit about the approach to this song and kind of dispel some of the myths of country bass playing and how it's boring or easy or simple or whatever. It's actually not that simple. There are a lot of important musical concepts that we have to have in our back pocket here as we play this song. So if you want to get tab notation, anything like that, please head over and support my Patreon page. You can find it there. And in the meantime, be great to subscribe to this channel, like this video, all the things. But for now, we're going to talk a little bit about this bass line and what makes it interesting. So one of the things to know is that from a technical standpoint, it's not that crazy. We're not doing a lot of wacky things. We're not moving around the fretboard too much, but we have to have other musical concepts really solid. So we have to know how long we're on a chord for. We have to understand the function of the note that we're playing in terms of whether it's the root note of our chord or if it's an inversion or something other than the root note of our chord. We have to be really accountable for the time and then also know how to play the appropriate fills or how to play things in a style that is country music, and even maybe a little bluegrassy in nature as well. So the thing that's interesting about this song is we kind of have two sections. We have a chorus section, which is how the song begins, and then we have a verse section. And the chord progression is very similar in both sections, but the timing and the way we express the chord, meaning whether we play it in root position or not, is going to be a bit different. So if we think about the chorus in our head, we're going to be starting in the key of C sharp minor or E major. So I personally like to think about it as being in the key of E major, but starting on our sixth chord, the minor chord, so that's C sharp minor. Now, to be able to play these chords, we're not doing anything crazy with triads or whatever. We're really just playing roots or roots and fifths. Now, this is a very standard kind of country or bluegrass approach where we may play the root note twice, or we may play the root and the fifth. So if you think about being on a chord for 2 beats, you could play 2 root notes or a root and a fifth. Or if you're on there for a full bar, you could play root fifth, or you could just play the root. But we're really not on a chord for a full bar to play 4 beats of just the root note. So we're really going to be taking advantage of that root and fifth, unless we're on a chord for just 2 beats, in which case we may just play the root twice. But that's kind of a taste thing. So when I think about the thing that makes country music a little bit more complex than we may think it is, it's that notion of taste and knowing how long we're on a chord for within the chord progression and what we can do. So if we think about the chorus, if you want to kind of like sing it to yourself, you're thinking, Jolene, 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 Jolene. It's a little up there for me. But I'm thinking about my chord progression as C sharp minor to E to B and back to C sharp minor. So if you want to think about it as 6 minor, 1, 5, 6 minor, or if you're in a minor key, you can think about this as your minor 1, your flat 3rd, your flat 7th, and then back to the 1. And then it's going to go back down to our B chord, which is either the 5 of our major key or the flat 7 of our minor key. So Jolene, 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 da 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 da. That's going to basically be our chord progression for the song. Now, you may have noticed that we're here for 2 beats, 2 beats, 2 beats, and then 4 beats, and then 4 beats on the B. So again, this is one of those things where the challenge here is really just how long we're on each chord for. So 2 beats, 2 beats, 2 beats, 4 beats, 4 beats, back to 4 beats. And so that movement is really going to be dictated by how long we're on a chord for. And you can choose to do either roots and fifths. But wait a minute, that didn't quite work. If we played roots and fifths and then we played roots and fifths on the E chord, that would kind of be weird because we're about to land on this chord. So we might just want to play the root twice there. Root, fifth, root, root. Now we can land on this chord. So this may be a little bit complex, but know that as you listen to the song, the notion of when you play root, root, or root and fifth is a really important thing. So you can kind of go this way and now land on your root and fifth when you're there for a little longer, and play roots and fifths when you're on something for a full bar. The last bar of our chorus, we're going to be there for a full bar, and we can even play a fill if we want. And this fill that I'm using is really using the root, the flat seventh, and the fifth of our chord. So if we're on that C sharp minor, here's my root, I'm using my lower fifth, here's my flat seventh, and then back to my root. And I'm really kind of just playing with eighth notes there. So it's kind of an interesting way to navigate that chord and use like a little minor fill. So as you're playing the chorus, that's going to be the general way you go about it. As you skip to the verse section, we have a little bit of a different chord progression because we're using an inversion now. So we're starting on the same chord, that C sharp minor. We're going to the E. The next note that we play is going to be a D sharp, but we're not playing a D sharp chord. We're actually playing the third of our B chord. So we're playing an inverted chord. We're playing the third of the chord instead of the root. So we're playing the root note of our C sharp minor chord, the root note of our E, the third of our B major chord, and then ultimately we'll go down to this B here. But know that when we play this note, we're not playing a D sharp chord, we're playing a B with a D sharp in the bass. Back to the C sharp, and now we go down to the B, and we can play kind of roots and fifths there. So. Again, use our taste to go back and forth between roots and fifths. And if you listen to the record, there is a lot of variation in terms of when we play root root or root fifth. But as we get more comfortable with this genre, you'll hear certain things that make a lot of sense to you, and you'll get a little bit more flexible with choosing when to do that. But that's kind of the nature of the little bit of improv that we get within country bass playing, is that we kind of have to know, oh, we could play root root, or we could play root fifth, and a lot of it will be dependent upon how long we are on a chord for. So again, this is a little bit of a deceptive song where we think it's a little bit simple, and then as we get into it, it's like, oh, there's actually some important musical things here, which is the chord progression, how long we're on each chord for, whether we're playing that chord in root position or we're playing an inversion of it, and then if we're going to throw in a fill, what that is going to be and how we're going to kind of use some of our concepts like the notes of a minor chord, or using our root fifth flat seven octave kind of thing to be able to express more over that chord. So again, this is kind of like just a beginner lesson to get you started with this song, but one that I feel like is a good way to kind of just introduce you to country bass playing. So I definitely recommend giving the song a listen, hearing the nuances, and then checking out some of the tab and notation that is on my Patreon page to kind of make sense of it all. But I hope you dug this. Have a great day, everybody, and happy practicing. Keep it groovy.